Good morning, second graders. It's good to see you today. Happy Friday. You made it through another week. Today, we are not doing anything on ReadWorks. Okay. So unless you need to catch up with some of the stories that we've already read, then by all means use today to do that. What I wanted to talk today about was the packet that I put in your folder. Now, the packet that I put on I think I put on 3 packets in your folders this week. One was about some writing, journal entries, I believe, and it should look like this. Now, the first story that you were supposed to do was on Wednesday, talking about Earth Day. The one for today, I'm going to go ahead and read it to you, and I'd like to see what you think. April 24th is Pigs in a Blanket Day. Create a new dish using hot dogs as the main ingredient, or describe your favorite hot dog dish. So what it's asking you to do is kind of either come up with a recipe for a new hot dog dish, or share information about what's your favorite hot dog dish. Get creative. I'd like to see what you can do. Now, if you want to write out the recipe, you can, and if you want to draw a picture, go ahead. I'd love to see how it looks. I'm a big hot dog fan, so I look forward to seeing if some of your recipes can even be tried. That might be fun. But today's video is about more than that. Today's video is about the other packet that looks like this. Now, if you were following your schedule that I put on your folder, you will notice that there's grammar work every day. Now, grammar, in this case, is going to be the parts of speech. Now, what I've put in your packet, I broke it down into 5 sections for this week. Section 1 deals with nouns. Section 2 deals with verbs. Section 3 deals with adjectives. Section 4 deals with pronouns. And Section 5 deals with subject and predicates. So what I want to do today is give a brief discussion about what each one is. And we're going to start with nouns. Simply put, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. All right. These are usually part of the subjects in our sentences. These are who the sentences are going to be about. Can you think of any people, places, things, or ideas that we can use as details or use as examples of nouns? I'll give you a second. So did you think of anything? Now, if you're paying attention to some of the pictures in the video, you saw a person, you saw a thing, you saw a place, and then you saw a picture of someone having an idea. Idea is probably the toughest one when we're talking about nouns to think of. So it's got me thinking of what we could use as an example for an idea. Well, how about music? Can music be an idea? Absolutely. You can't hold on to music, can you? Can you see it? Well, maybe musical notes and things like that, but when it's playing, you can't see it. But music would definitely be a noun. So on this first page, it asks you to come up with a list of nouns. They also put it alphabetically. So you need to come up with a noun that starts with the letter of each one of these. Some of them are going to be easy to do. Some of them are going to be tougher. When you get to the X's and Q's and Z's, they're a little trickier, but I know you can do it. Next, let's talk about adjectives. All right, as I look in the packet, adjectives is the next activity that's in the packet. Now, when we're thinking of a noun, I don't just say a car. I say, ooh, that gray car or that white car. And I say that because right now I'm actually looking at a gray and a white car. The words we would use to describe that car, or in this case, that noun, is an adjective. So when we think of adjectives, we think of ways that are words that help us describe a noun even better. So instead of just saying that dog, we can say something else. So what are some words, what are some adjectives that you would use to describe AJ, my dog? Well, you could say happy. She definitely looks happy, doesn't she? You could say brown and white. You could say medium size or big, depending on your viewpoint. Now, when we use adjectives to describe, they don't stand alone by themselves. Usually they're going to be followed by a noun. So we'll say the pretty dog or the energetic dog. All right? So when we're dealing with adjectives, the big word to remember is describe. So in your packet, you have a page that looks right like this. It's called Identifying Adjectives. So all you need to do is go through the sentences, circle the adjective. Now remember, the adjective is usually followed by a noun. So the adjective is usually going to be before the noun. So you circle it and then write it on the side of the page. Now the third part of speech I want to talk about is the verbs. Now, verbs are actions. They're movements. There's things that you do. Can you think of some actions and things that you do that could be used as verbs? Well, take a look at this next little video to show you, see if you can identify any of the verbs that are going on.
Boom! Yeah!
Yeah! So can you tell me what verbs were going on there? Well, if you said playing, that was me playing disc golf, throwing, walking, then you heard some cheering. Those are all things, even the birds singing would be examples of verbs. Now remember, a verb is what the noun is doing. Now if you look at your activity, you have identify the action verbs as well as another one of those, come up with a verb that matches each letter. This is going to be a bit of a challenge once again because we have letters like X and Y and Q that sometimes will make it hard to come up with it. So be creative, see what you can do. The next part of speech is pronouns. Now, pronouns are probably, I would say, one of the most common types of nouns that we actually use. Now, imagine if I would speak like this. Mr. Sergeant needs to take Mr. Sergeant's dog to Mr. Sergeant's house in Mr. Sergeant's car. That's a lot of Mr. Sergeants, isn't it? When I could say, Mr. Sergeant needs to take his dog to his house. That'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? His is an example of a pronoun. Can you think of other pronouns? Well, we got his, he, I, they, she, her. Whenever you have a pronoun, it's taking the place of a noun, so you don't have to say the noun over and over and over again. You can say words like he or it or they instead of saying the noun over and over and over again. It makes speaking a lot easier and it makes sentences a lot more understandable and even shorter. So the activity I'm looking for you to do, I'm very interested in looking for, is the Why Do We Need Pronouns page. Now, some of you have this, some of you may not. Here we have a story that you have to replace some of the nouns with pronouns. So I look forward to seeing the work that you're going to be doing on it. And finally, we have subjects and predicates. Now, this is the first thing that we've done, or we did this year in grammar. I just wanted to put it in there to be a review. So when you're writing in a complete sentence, you need to have two parts. Actually, there are 4 parts, but we're going to focus on the 2 parts first. You need a subject, which is what the sentence is about, or who the sentence is about. And then you have the predicate. Now, the predicate is what the subject does. All right? So if you take a look at your subject and predicate page that most of you have, the first sentence is actually done for you. It says, Jasmine laid down on the bed. So the subject there would be who? You're right, it's Jasmine. And what did Jasmine do? Very good. She laid down on the bed. So if you read the instructions, it just says circle the subject and write out the complete predicate for each sentence. And that's all you have to do for that one. Okay? So just circle the subject, and usually it will be 1 word. All right? Sometimes 2. But for the most part, the subject is just going to be 1 thing. And the predicate, you're going to have to write out. And the other page is subjects and predicates, and you pretty much do the same thing. All right? It starts the sentence that says the police car turned off on the siren. So the subject there is police car. And what did it do? It turned on the siren. So you got your subject and you got your predicate. So I hope that helped you with your packet this week. Next week, we'll talk about the other packet. Now, it's going to get harder next week. I'm going to be honest with you. This week's packet should have been review for a lot of you. Now, next week's packet deals with things like preposition and conjunctions. So stay tuned for next week's video. Can't wait to see you guys again. I miss you. If you have any questions, Class Dojo me. And have a great weekend. See you.